Foremost, my name is Carson Olinger. I am president and CEO of Capital City Equity Group. We're based here in Northeast Atlanta, and I primarily do most of my investing in the general area in which I live. And I'll address that in this meeting as well. So we're here as new investors. And I will say this, I've only been doing this since July of 2017. So not even 5 years yet, not even 5 years. I was where you were 4.5 years ago. Totally like, where do I go? I got all this information. What do I do? So a little bit about me, without getting too long-winded. I own Capital City Equity Group. That is my flipping division and my LLC. I also own a consulting group called Southeastern Associates, which kind of is the backbone of everything else. This is the face, and the backbone is my S Corp. That's all about deal structure and creating your business, and we can talk about that at a later date. I actually go into that on my Monday platform with the super group, the Georgia super group, so we can discuss how to set your business up properly. But I've been doing this a little over 4.5 years. I started off with absolutely zero money, literally. Am I going to make enough money to pay my bills, kind of thing. I had enough in the bank to last me a certain while, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I just went for it. And I got off the bench through a lot of prayer and my wife's encouragement, and the Lord led me here, and I've been blessed ever since. I will also say this, I have never spent a penny of my own money on buying a house. And I'll say that again. I've never spent a penny of my own money buying a house. Okay. I use other people's money for all my deals, and I'm getting ready to close my 120th deal. And it's still the case. Now, I do spend money on marketing. Okay. I market and I spend money on that, but not on actually buying a house. Okay. I also, in doing all these deals, have networked with a lot of people, but I started off wholesaling. Okay. So when I started off day one, I recognized that in order to get into this business, I had to be credible, I had to be knowledgeable, and I had to be ethical. And if I do all those things, which I've always done in every business in my past, then I will succeed. So in order to have credibility, that doesn't mean that I know everything. It just means that what I say, I do, and what I say is true. And what I mean by that is I didn't know some things. Like, for instance, I didn't even know the term ARV. Okay. So what I did, and I'm going to go over the 3 things that I think are critically important for the 3-day challenge. Okay. And I'm going to give those to you now. The 3 things that I think that need to be done in order to get off the bench and into the game is to network. Okay. Meaning surround yourself with other people, educate yourself, and then locate the property. So network, educate, and locate. Okay. I also have never paid for any education at all. Never bought a CD course. I never got the Carlton Sheets thing at midnight off the TV. I didn't get any of that stuff. What I did, and this is my philosophy, and this is why I am here, is I surround myself with people that know more than me. So I got to where I am for the same reason that you're going to get where you need to go, because you're surrounding yourself in the REI USA platform with people that know more than you. And people taught me what I needed to do. How did I pay these people? Well, my deals helped pay for them. Let me give you an example. My first wholesale deal, I got the deal, but I didn't really have any way of understanding how to price the thing out, right? So a friend of mine, I said, hey, can you come over to the property and help me walk through this thing so we can identify how much the rehab's going to be? Because I want to be credible. I want to be able to tell an investor, hey, it's a $20,000 rehab or a $30,000 rehab, and them know that I'm accurate when they walk out of that building. They're like, yeah, I came in at 28.5, you said 30, it's pretty close. As opposed to me saying, hey, it's 15, and they come out going, whoa, this is like 40 grand. The deal doesn't make any sense. So then I lose credibility, and that investor is not going to come back to me later to buy a deal. So credibility was critical. So my friend came in, we walked through the property that I was getting under contract, and I told him what I thought the rehab was going to be. I said $7,500. He came back at 28. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, where am I wrong? And he goes, not the stuff that you found was wrong. It's that you didn't see everything that you needed to see. And it opened my eyes. And I did that a couple of times. So when I wholesaled the deal, he got a cut of that pie. The deal paid for it. So I paid for his time with the profits from my deal that I wouldn't have been able to get without him in the first place, right? So that's how I got started. And I started to network. So let me address that. Coming out of the chutes, I recognized the fact that I didn't have any money. So how am I going to get money? How am I going to make money? Well, in order to do that, I needed to know people with money and have credibility within the real estate investment community. And believe me, this is a small world. In the Atlanta metro area or whatever metro area you're in, you will get to know who's who in the zoo pretty quickly. And you're going to know who's the guys that are flying by the seat of their pants, and you're going to know the guys that are doing well. It's a small world. So what I did is I piped myself into as many network events that I can. I went on to Meetup.com is a free service, which I would highly encourage you to do, whatever metro area you're in. Put in your interest level of, I want to get into investing, I want networking, I want real estate, all the buzzwords that you would assimilate or associate, I should say, with networking and real estate. And then you'll find all these groups all over the metro area that meet at different times. Most of them are free. And so you go to these meetings and you plug yourself into the equation and start asking questions and listen to the speakers and the topics. Some are just open forums or social where you're handing out your business card. Hey, I'm a new investor. I've not done anything. I'm looking to get into this. What do you do? And they tell you, and you get their card and you start developing a buyer's list. Because as a wholesaler at the time, I needed to make sure when I got a deal, I could wholesale it, right? So networking was critical. I went to 4, 5, 6 networking events a month. My wife was like, where are you going tonight? Where are you going tonight? And I said, it's going to slow down. I just got to do this on the front end to make sure that I've got what I need to go forward. Because my goal was not to be a wholesaler, not to say that's wrong, but I wanted to do more. I wanted to own property and I wanted to flip property. And I wanted to do all of them, not just one thing. And we'll talk about that too here in a minute. So the networking aspect was critical. And as I was networking through these meetings, I was meeting other people that were just like me. They had never done a deal. They were sitting on the bench with a $50,000 software program they bought from XYZ company, or a $30,000 they got in a hotel ballroom concept. And they had all this great information, which a lot of it was, but they couldn't process it. They were sitting there going, I got all this information, but where do I start? How do I do this? And it was, they call it paralyzation through analyzation, right? You just can't get off the bench. And I, being in sales in the background and for many years, I recognized that the only way for me to learn was to do. I'm a doer. So I went out and I did it. And in order to do it, I needed help. So I brought people in around me that felt comfortable, that I felt comfortable with, that I already knew, and some new relationships that I developed at these networking meetings. So if you're wanting to get started, I highly encourage you to go to meetup.com, join as many REIAs as you can. Obviously, you're here on REI USA, so you kind of get that concept. This is a great forum as well. And I would encourage you to look at a lot of the different coaches and mentors that have their programs on this platform, because they're going to talk about different markets other than what I can just talk about. And if you're interested in Airbnb, we've got a guy for that. Subject to, we got people for that. So there's all kinds of topics to get into. But for the new investor, which you're trying to do, I cannot stress enough how important networking was to my current and ongoing success. I never stopped networking, right? So one of the things I did is, I didn't have a lot of money, is I went out and I got some business cards. It cost me $30. We probably all can get our hands on $30. I got 1,000 business cards, and everywhere I went, I'm giving out a business card. I mean, I'm throwing them around like, just crazy. If I went to dinner, went to lunch, I was giving out business cards. I had a goal every day. I'm going to give out 5 business cards. The waitress comes over. Hi, what do you do? I'm an investor. Here's my card. If you know anybody that wants to sell their house, send them to me. If I get it, I'll pay you $500. Really? Wow. Postman. I give them the postman. Hey, you see an empty house? Call me. UPS guy, FedEx guy, all those guys. I'm giving out business cards. 5 a day. I did that religiously for the first year. I went through boxes of cards. Most of them get thrown in the mail or in the garbage, but I got calls from them. If you get one call, you're making thousands of dollars. It's worth $30. But people saw me, my brand. I kept pushing my face, my brand, it's everywhere in people's face, networking. So they associate what I did with who I am. Okay. So the network is critical. I can't stress that enough, but it goes beyond just REIAs. It goes beyond that. Okay. Meeting with people and having conversations outside of this allows you to get into the language of real estate, right? So what is the language of real estate? That's all the terminology that seems foreign to you now. I don't know where you all are in the process, but I know when I first started, people were saying subject to, like, what does that mean? They're talking about ARV. I didn't know what the heck that meant. Just different terminology that we use religiously in the business as just our dialogue. So I was at one of these meetings, and I'll never forget this, and I can't remember the guy's name. It was a white guy, and he had an Asian counterpart, and he was speaking about some topic that is irrelevant. But what he said continually within his 45-minute speech was, make sure you got a pen and paper. And at the end of my presentation, my counterpart here, the Asian lady, she's going to speak, and she's going to tell you how to make $1 million in real estate. So make sure so he's throwing the carrot out there. He'd go on with his speech, half hour into it. Hey, don't forget to have your pen and paper, because at the end, she's going to tell you. So we get to the end, right? Everybody's on the bated breath. What's she going to say? How am I going to make $1 million in real estate? So she starts speaking in Mandarin Chinese, going on and on and on. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't understand Chinese. And it became pretty obvious that that was the intent, because she kept going on for about 2 minutes. Nobody knew what she was saying. And at the end, you're like, okay, you got me. What is she saying? And he goes, did everybody hear her? Yes. What did she say? He goes, we didn't understand what she said? No. He goes, that's the point. You didn't understand what she said because you don't understand the language. If you want to learn Mandarin Chinese, move to China. You'll learn it a lot quicker in China than you will here. Why? Because you're going to be forced to deal with it. I got to go to the bathroom. How do you ask that question? I need to eat. I want some water. Where do I live? Where's this street? You're going to figure all that out pretty quickly. You're going to learn the language. Same thing with real estate. He says, for real estate, embed yourself in with other real estate professionals. Hear the language, speak the language. You'll learn the terminology. You'll hear things you didn't know. And you'll ask the questions, what does that mean? What does that mean? And people will engage in those conversations with you. So I would ask all of those questions. Hey, what does that mean? ARV. And then people would tell me, then the conversation would evolve out to other things, and we develop a relationship. And then I could put them down on my network as an investor that I could sell a deal to. So as I progressed, I grew my network and my buyers list through these networking meetings. So everybody on my list, I had shaken their hand or met face to face, and they gave me a card. And then I was putting stuff out on Facebook. So Facebook, for me, is a great networking opportunity, because I could meet other people with similar interests in these different real estate groups within Facebook. As a matter of fact, Stacy used to run a very, very successful and very large in-person meeting on the south side of Atlanta. And I went down there a couple of times, even though it was on the other side of town, because there were people down there that I wanted to meet, because I saw the success that she was having. She's transformed that into a broader national platform that we're here today. So it's just all upside. So the networking component is critical. I could go on forever about networking, but I want to move on to the other subject matter that's important, I think, for a new investor to get off the bench and into the game. So as I mentioned, I've done about 120 transactions. I now own about 48 different rental properties. I've flipped, 18, 20 homes, and I've wholesaled a myriad of others. So I've kind of got an experience in all sides. So the network also allowed me to find people with money, and with the credibility that I had, I was able to then ask people, hey, would you like to invest some money? All right. And people come to me out of the blue, says, Carson, I see what you're doing, all this activity. You got to be making some pretty good money. Yeah, I am. How can I do that? How can I be a part? Well, I could use some investors. I want to flip a house. Let's do it. And because I established that credibility, they were willing to do that. Obviously, there was contracts involved. It wasn't just, hey, here's 200,000, let's go. There were some paperwork involved, and we put them in position and all those types of things that you have to do to run a successful business. But one of the biggest questions I had getting into this is, how do I do this without any money? And I've heard people say all the time, you can use other people's money. Well, that's what I did. OPM, other people's money. And that's my business model. I want them to make money too. I've got the money to do a lot of this on my own, but why should I leverage my capital when I could grow people up around me and be stronger? I could flip 1 home or 2 homes at a time, no problem, with my own capital. But I can do 5 or 8 or 10 with other people's money. And yeah, maybe I don't make as much on each deal, make 100% on 2, or I can make 75% on 8. Do the math. It starts to be exponentially great. So don't ever just box yourself out. I have a mentality and I use a lot of analogies and expressions, but I'm this kind of guy. Let's bring it in. Let's hug it out. I'm not this guy. What do you want? You're my competition. And I tell people this all the time, and I don't mean this from an arrogant perspective. I do not have any competition. I don't. And here's why. It's not because I'm the greatest. It's not because I'm awesome. It's not because I'm good or better than you. It's because there's so much business out there that I'd be a fool not to allow others to grow up around me as I've grown up around them. Because if we're all on the same team trying to make money for our families, there's enough business out there for all of us. I can't possibly flip every home in Atlanta. I can't do it. And to think that someone's going to steal my deal, I'm not worried about that. There's plenty more where they came from. And I'll never work with that person again. But you kind of read people, figure out who they are. And if you want to work with them, work with them. But don't close yourself off. JV and partner as much as you can. And that's what I do now. I JV with other people. They bring me their deals. They want to try and wholesale. They just don't have the buyer's list. I'll move their property for them. I take a fee for that, but the deal pays for it. Hey, they want to flip a property, but they don't have the capital. I'll go in as a partner and we'll flip the property, or I'll buy it and we'll split the profits some other way. We'll figure out a way to equitably do it so everybody wins. Okay. So that's the network. That's what it brings to the table. And you're always trying to grow your network. You're only as strong as your network. There's a term people use. Your network is your net worth, right? So think about that all the time. Always be bringing people in. So as you're doing that, you're learning, right? You're asking all the questions. So now you're educating yourself. That's the second point I want to get to. Talked about networking, now education. You're learning as you're going. You're going to gain information. You're going to understand terminology. You're going to be able to put processes into application. And if you work with other people, hey, Carson, I really haven't done any deals yet, but I see that you're doing this flip. Can I come and just be a fly on the wall and kind of see how you do it? Sure, come on up. It's not going to cost me anything. I'd love to be able to teach you, ask some questions, what have you. We do that all the time. As a matter of fact, we were talking about this on the front end. I have another meeting that we do on REI USA, which is the first Monday of every month, and it's called Walk the Flip. And it's an educational concept within the REI USA platform, of course. And we teach people how to walk through the processes of flipping a house. And to that point, we then take it to the field, and I'll bring people on location. Stacy and I were just talking a little while ago about one that's coming up. We're buying one. We're closing it, I think, November 1st. And after we get the fleas out of the place and get it cleaned up, we're going to bring people in and have an on location, on site, walk the flip. Let's see what this thing looks like, what we're going to do, our budgets, where the money's going to go, what kind of finishes we're putting in. Look at what we got to do, and then come back at the end to see that. So you can educate yourself by immersing yourself and seeing that. And you're going to ask questions. Hey, how much per square foot does it cost for flooring? How much does it cost per square foot to paint? How much does it cost per square foot to do siding or do a roof or what have you? What's the cost of a bathtub? What's tile work? All those things. This is education. You can go buy a course. You can go buy it from or get some guru that knows what he's doing supposedly and pay him $5,000, $10,000 to teach you and be your mentor. The problem with that system is your expectation is going to be significantly different than what you end up getting at the back end. Why? Because you learn a certain way. You learn that 2 + 2 is 4. If somebody tries to teach you 3 + 1 is 4, you might not process that way. The end result's the same and it's both good information, but you don't understand it because you don't learn that way. It's like school. School teaches this way. If you learn this way or this way, you're either going to get bored because you're not challenged, or you're going to fall through the cracks because you're not processing it. And that's what happens as adults. Hey, here's this great program. You read about it. You see the people that are succeeding and you buy the course or you hire the mentor and they teach. But if you don't process that, they don't have time to redo it a different way. That's their method. That's their style. It's good information, but you might not get it. So I feel we flip the script. Why don't you come out and get involved and ask the questions you need to ask without paying any money up front, okay? Or in a platform like this, $40, that's a dinner out. You can invest $40 of your month, which you have, to learn, and the value you're going to get from people that are in this platform is invaluable. $40 a month. I wish I had this when we got started. It didn't exist. And I would have driven to this thing to be there in person for $40 a month. It's a great platform. So I'm flattered that Stacy asked me to be here, and I want to give back. And the reason I do is because I got where I am today, and I'm going where I'm going because people give to me and help me. Okay. And that's the mentality you have to have in order to do this. I want everybody to succeed. And so when I go to these networking meetings, I don't want to be Mr. Arrogant thinking, oh, I know everything, because I never do. And I have a phrase I use, and I love this. If I find that I'm the smartest guy in the room, I leave. If I'm the smartest guy in that room, I'm out, because my time is too valuable to be running around with people that don't know how to teach me anything. I've never left a room, ever. I've always stayed. Why? Because there's always somebody there that knows more than me. It'd be ridiculous to think I knew everything. I don't. And I'm always learning. I'm always trying to grow my business. I'm always trying to figure out, hey, I can do this 2 + 2 all day long. And then someone goes, you can do the same thing 3 + 1. And I'm like, whoa, I never thought of that. And it's a concept I hadn't processed. And now I get it. Hey, let's talk about that more. Education, constantly be educating yourself. It's a process. It's not something's going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. But with a plan, you'll do fine. You're going to be networking as you're educating yourself, and you're going to be growing your business and growing your network so that you become credible. It's all a process. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's taken me 4.5 years to get where I am. I've been successful now for several years, but not to the level I am now. And I see potential growth here. And there's people that are around me that are running circles around me, and they should be, because they've been doing it longer, or they're better at it than I am. And that's fine. That's totally fine. Be happy with what you have and where you're going, as long as you have a plan. Don't get overwhelmed with the influx of information. That's what a lot of these courses will do, is they'll give you a lot of great information, inundate you, and then you wind up sitting on the bench going, okay, where do I go? Do I go this way, or do I go that way? Do I flip houses? Do I wholesale houses? Do I do a $200,000 rehab or a $50,000 rehab? Where do I get my money? Do I need to buy business cards? Do I need to get a software program? Do I need to forget all that? There's too much of that. You just need to say, I need to network. I need to educate myself. And then the third one is, I need a deal. So if you think about this thing, I always I kind of re-engineer everything, right? Backwardly engineer things. So if you take the end deal, it flipped. It was a flipped house. Walk it all the way back to the beginning. You got a wholesale house, walk it all the way back to the beginning. You got a rental property, walk it back to the beginning. The one commonality of every single one of the deals is the deal itself, right? So getting the deal opens up the box. You may have all the information, you got the contracts, you got the lead, you got everything you need, but you don't have a deal. You're not doing anything. You're not buying real estate, you're not moving real estate, because you don't have the deal. A lot of people look at the dog and they go, okay, I got to have a CRM program. I got to have the network. I got to have the money. I've got to have the back office. I got to have 6 people working for me. I got to have the letterhead. I got to have the stuff on my car. Got to have all this stuff. That's the dog. And the tail is the deal. With all this, it doesn't work. So in this case, the tail wags the dog. Once you get the tail, which is the deal, everything else falls into place. You could be someone that showed up today, never even heard of what real estate is, and your next door neighbor says, you know what, I saw that you were on that real estate course. You do real estate? Yeah. Hey, you want to buy my house? I got to get rid of it because I'm moving and it's a wreck and I just need to get rid of it. Now you got a deal, but you don't know what to do. But you got a deal. People will come out of the woodwork to buy that deal. Because why? You've got something they need, and never underestimate the power of the deal. Now, a deal is different than an opportunity. What's the difference? An opportunity is just that, an opportunity potentially to close a deal. An actual deal means there's financial sense to an investor. It makes sense to buy it. Hey, I'm not going to buy a house at 100,000, put 20 into it and sell it for 120. That's not a deal. That's an opportunity. You need to get your buy price down. Okay, because this is the term I use a lot. You make your money when you buy the house. So whatever your contract price is your starting point, right? If I buy it for 100, I put 20 in it and I sell it for 120, I don't make any money. But if I buy it for 50 and I put 20 in it and I sell it for 120, I make money, right? But it's all where you start from, right? It seems obvious, but a lot of people make the mistake or they try and fudge the numbers. Hey, it's a $50,000 rehab, but you can do it for 20. Well, now you can't. Hey, it's a $250,000 ARV after rehab value, but no, it's not. It's only 200,000 because you're pulling in comps that don't make any sense to this deal. So comps, where do you get those? Zillow and Redfin are not comps. Don't ever use them. You will lose credibility if you tell an investor Zillow and Redfin's a comp. It's not. Don't use it. Use it as a guideline, yes, but don't advertise that you did. Just kind of get an idea of that ballpark you're in. Talk to an agent, talk to a person like myself, another investor, Stacy, what have you. Hey, can I get an ARV run on this? And we'll pull stuff up and we'll tell you what we think the ARV is. Okay. Reach out to people in your network that you're building to educate yourself to create that credibility. Because once you get started, you're going to develop a name for yourself. Hey, Carson is putting out deals that make sense. There's meat on the bone for people to do in the wholesaling environment, right? So I always try and get properties under contract that I could flip myself because I need to have that spread in order to make money. But I also want to make sure if I wholesale, my investors make money. Okay. And I have good deals. My deals go in 20, 30 minutes because they're good deals. Okay. So networking and education, they kind of go hand in hand, right? You're networking and while you're learning at the same time. But you're saying, well, wait a minute, I work a full-time job. I got 3 kids at home. I can't go out to all these meetings. Well, there is some sacrifice in any job that you need to make. Is it the end all be all? No, that's just my approach. But what can you do if you've got all these things? Find time. You got time to watch Netflix. You got time to go out on the weekends. You got time to do all these things. You can sit at home and be on Facebook and network 30 minutes a day. I do that 20 to 30 minutes a day. I'm on Facebook and I'm done. And I network, I put stuff out, I put content out there. I'm in front of people all the time, making sure they see me, what I'm doing, how I'm doing. And Facebook, you know what it is. It's a big, hey, look at me, look how great I am. It's not like, man, I lost another contract today. Oh man, the guy put in the wrong kind of flooring, or look at how I'm not succeeding. It's all about success and how great we are, right? So you put that out there and people see it. I'm not saying lie, because once again, we want to be credible. But if you don't have content, when I first started, I had no content. I didn't have any deals. I can't say that I did something when I didn't. I'd be lying. So what I did is I would read articles. Hey, I read this great article and I think this is really interesting. And I'd make a comment on page 3 and I'd post the article. So now when people read the article, they're associating me with a good article and I'm bringing content, right? So that's what I would do. I just got creative. So network and educate, they kind of go hand in hand, but those are the critical things, right? So then the last one is the most important, okay? It's locating the deal. And that's the big 800-pound gorilla. How do you locate and find a deal, right? So you're going to have 2 things in this business. You're going to have money or you're going to have time when you first start, right? Money or time. For me, I didn't have any money and I had time, especially since I was going to leave my job and do this full time. I had time. So I had to invest my time to find the deals. I had to do it cheaply because I didn't have the money. So how did I do that? Well, first and foremost, there's companies out there that'll do all the stuff that I was doing and you could pay them. But as I said, I didn't have any money and I needed the deal, right? I had to find that tail to wag that dog. I knew that was the key. If I can get a deal, I can get some stuff rolling. I can kind of knock the frost off and get off the bench and get in the game and I'll be warmed up. And then the next one will come easy. The first one's always the hardest. Okay. It just is. I asked people for help. I was doing all kinds of stuff, but no one wants to give up their deal, right? So you had to kind of bring that to the table yourself. So what I did is I started sending out letters. Okay, I would hand write out a letter. I'd put it in an envelope because I could afford a stamp and I would mail it. Okay, I had time. I could do that. The rate of return I got on that was abysmal. And from a marketing perspective, because I'm a marketer, expect to get 1 to 2% rate of return on your letter campaigns. So if you send out 1,000 letters, you're going to get 20 letters back. Okay. Now, those people getting back to you are only responding to you because you contacted them, right? You got in touch with them. So they're responding to you saying, hey, you want to buy my house? What's the first question they're going to ask? How much are you going to give me for the house, right? because you're saying you want to buy their house. Are they motivated? Not necessarily. You don't know. They're just somebody you send a letter to. Might be someone in your neighborhood because you saw the grass was high. You might have driven in another neighborhood and saw the shutters were falling off, whatever. That's how I started off. And I started recognizing really quickly, this is going to take forever, because out of those 20 people that got back to me, I'd get maybe 1 or 2 appointments. And then out of those 1 or 2 appointments, I'd get either 0 or maybe 1 contract. And I was like, this is going to take a while. So I had to circumvent that process. So I said, what is really determining whether people want to sell? Is it the fact that I reached out to them with a letter? Not really, because 50 or 60 other investors did the same thing. And this guy's sitting there looking at letter after letter after letter after letter going, garbage, garbage, garbage. Why did he open mine? I don't know. Maybe the day I got there, I was the only guy. Maybe mine looked pretty. I don't know. But yeah, I was lucky. There really wasn't any rhyme or reason to it, right? So what I had to do was flip the script. I had to get them to contact me, or I needed to find out what their motivation was to sell. So once again, I didn't have any money, but I had time. And I said, I need to find people that are motivated to sell. So what is a motivator to sell your house? Well, 1, you're going to have somebody that is behind on their mortgage. 2, you might have a real estate investor that's got a house that's dilapidated, the renter tore it up and they're tired of dealing with it. Multiple other ones. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go after the investor who wants to sell his house because someone trashed it out. So let me put this into context for you. Everyone hears about the hedge funds. Oh, the hedge funds are coming in, they're buying all these properties, and yeah, they are. They only represent about 10% of the overall rental portfolio in the United States, maybe 11. They're growing a little bit. 11. So every 100 homes, 11 of them are owned rentals. 11 of them are owned by hedge funds. Well, who owns the other 89? Mostly just individuals. The guy next door owns 2 rental properties. Grandma owns 1, or grandpa owns 3, or whatever. And then there's some investors like myself that own 30 or 40 or 50 or 100, but nothing of significance, nothing like 6,000, 10,000 properties, right? So when you go to look at, you're dealing with people like you and me, they're just individuals that have a problem. So how do you find them? If you've got a rental tenant, someone who's renting from you as a landlord, and they don't pay, or they default, or they're not in compliance with the contract, you can't just walk in and grab them by the ear and chuck them out. There's a legal process, right? So I walked this backwards and I said, well, what's the legal process to get that guy out? Because that investor has what? They have a problem, right? The problem is the guy's not paying rent. If the guy's not paying rent, he's probably not taking care of the place, or he's trashed it. Most of these properties, as I mentioned, are just onesie twosies where, hey, grandma died and me and my sister picked up the house. We were in such grief, we didn't want to sell it. So we just rented it out as it was. And now it's 2 years down the road. We've calmed ourselves down, but I don't have $15,000 to fix this thing up. Let's just dump it. Let's just sell it. Get a lot of it. Okay. So what I did is I went to the courthouse, the county courthouse. Okay. If you got a pen and paper, write this down. This is my little secret that I'll give to you today. It's a big word and it's hard to pronounce, but it's called dispossessory. Dispossessory. Okay. The process is, if I'm a landlord and I've got a tenant, I need them out, I need to evict them, right? And in order to do that, I have to go through the court system. So who actually submits the paperwork to the tenant? It says, here's your papers, you've been served. It's the sheriff, right? The county sheriff. The sheriff works for what division of the courthouse? The magistrate court. They work for the magistrate court system. So I went down to the magistrate court system and I said, hey, I want to see all your evictions. In legal terms, it's called a dispossessory. A dispossessory. Okay. It's public information. It's free. Because why? I had time, not money. So I sat down at their terminal and I could only get that information in that courthouse. I couldn't do it from home the way I can do it there. Who's doing that? Nobody's doing that. So the guy that got 15, 20, 50, 100 letters that I sent them, he's not hearing anybody from me, because now I'm going a dispossessory. It's a different list. Nobody does this. I do this. So I got a lot of leads very, very quickly. Why? Because they were motivated. They wanted to sell because they had a problem. The problem was they had an eviction. They're now not getting rent. They have to put money into the property, which they may not have. So I was able to get something out of them very quickly because I was tying into their emotion because it's a problem. And I was creating a solution, which is what we want to do. We want to create solutions for people in real estate, right? So I started having an enormous amount of hits coming back to me. So and you're getting actual phone numbers out of these things, not letters. So I'm calling people up and I say, hey, Bob, I see you've got a property at 123 White Street, and it looks like you had to evict a tenant. Would you like to sell that property? And he goes, yeah, I would like to sell that property. Excellent, let's talk. And we start talking. But what's nice about this process is, who am I dealing with? I'm dealing with potentially an investor who may have more than one property, may have 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, I don't know. But if he says, no, I don't want to sell that property, I would then say, well, do you have any other properties you might want to sell? Yeah, I do. I've got one on 456 Yellow Street. Let's talk about that. Or he says, no, I don't have any other properties. I'm holding on to everything. So it sounds like you got a lot of properties. You know, I also wholesale deals. Would you mind if I got your name and address and phone number, put you down on my buyer's list? So when I get a deal in your area, you might want to buy it. And he goes, that'd be great. I'm always looking to buy stuff. So now I'm getting something for my time. I'm either getting a lead on the one I called, I'm getting a lead on what he might have, or I'm getting his information so I can add him to my buyer's list. Once again, growing my network, right? And that's how I've gotten to where I've gotten. The other nice thing about this is, when you're dealing with these investors, sometimes you get the whale. And what do I mean by that? Hey, I've got 50 properties and I'm 85 years old and I want to sell them all. Whoa, 85. How am I going to do that? How do I buy 85 properties? I don't know, but I want the chance. So I get that thing. I try and figure it out. I bring people in to help me. We get it under contract and we sell 85 properties. That hasn't happened to me to that level, but there's capabilities of that happening. We did buy one of our trailer parks that way. Called on a dispossessory on one of the trailers and wound up buying a 27-unit trailer park. So it does happen. So the network is important for the education and then to the deal. So the deal then ties back into all of those, because now you're educated, you understand kind of what needs to go on. If you don't grasp all the concepts, you now have a network in which you can pull from. Hey, Bobby, I need some help. Can you help me out with this deal? Because you've done some. Sure, well, I'll split the profits with you. And that's now getting you into the game. You've now knocked that edge off of you because you've been to these REIAs. You now know a little bit more because you've been to 3 or 4 of them. You educated yourself. You feel more confident. You didn't drop 50 grand in some ballroom buying some course that you can't take. Most of those people don't wind up utilizing them. The people that do are incredibly successful. Why? Because they learned that way. You learn a different way. I learned by doing. So I went out and I did it. And I got off the bench. I was terrified. I was scared to death. I didn't know how it was going to go down. I was like, I'm going to lose money on this. I mean, I need to make sure because there's confidence, right? You think you know it, but now you got to put it in action, right? And there's money on the table. And is that going to happen? Is that going to work out? Am I going to lose money for the people that got involved with me? And it turns out I've never lost a penny of anybody's money, and I haven't lost any of my own. I've made money on every single one of my deals. I think the one that went south on me, we still made money. Instead of making $8,000 a piece, because there were 3 of us involved, I think we made $1,800 each. But we bought smart. We had room for the fall, if you will. I wasn't buying on such thin margins that if we found there was a problem underneath the house, that we were upside down. We had enough skin in the game, meat on the bone, if you will, that we had room for error. And in that case, we still made money, but we just didn't make as much. The key is don't lose any money, right? So network, educate, and then the deal. So that's not the only way to find deals. Let's say you have some money. I didn't, but I had a credit card, and I recognized the fact immediately after I started doing these dispossessories that I was spending a lot of time in the courthouses doing this, because every couple of weeks I go back and I'd get new lists, right? I'd go to different courthouses. I'd go to Gwinnett, Hall, Forsyth. I'd go to DeKalb. I'd go to all these different courthouses to get the information. Very time consuming. And I said, I don't want to always be doing this. I need to develop a way to generate leads passively. That's really the goal. So I had my credit card. I had a pretty hefty credit limit on it. So I bought into a website that I created with the help of some other real estate professionals that hosted these things, and hired a manager to manage my site and to create what we call SEO, which is search engine optimization, and PPC, pay-per-click. So now my website was working for me in the background. Setting up a website was cheap, but just because I had a website doesn't mean I'm viable. I could have I could have sold surfboards in Minnesota, but who's going to know that I'm there or want to buy surfboards in Minnesota? I have to create language within the website that when people search, it's going to be pertinent. So all the buzzwords go into the website, but they do it in a manner that I didn't understand. So I hired a guy who could do all that, and they did what they called search engine optimization. Put all the buzzwords that go into the website in the website. So now when you or the homeowner tries to sell the property, sell my house fast for cash, all those buzzwords are in my website. I come up as a relevant entity. You click on my website and it generates a lead for me. And in that case, I knew I was doing great, because I now have someone that sought me out. They came to my website. They put their time in to come to me. And now I'm going back to them saying, hey, thank you for coming to me. How can I help you? How can I solve your problem? They were motivated. That's the key to all of this. Find the motivation. People buy lists. I'm not saying it's wrong, but know what you're doing when you do it, that you're going to be one of many. If I have a list and I'm selling it to you for $200, I'm not living my life off the $200 you gave me. I have to sell that list to 1,000 other people because I need their $200. And then next month I'm doing it again. Well, if all of these people have the same list, they're all calling and emailing and sending letters to the same people on the list. And now it's just a matter of, are you going to get the call or are you not going to get the call? And keep in mind, those people aren't necessarily motivated to call you back in the first place. So as I said, I flipped the script and I went after the ones. It took more time, but I had that. Now I've evolved where I don't have the time. I need to do these things passively, so I spend money on doing it. And it's an evolution, right? But I got the first several deals through the time process before I evolved into the SEO PPC. And PPC, by the way, stands for pay-per-click, meaning, hey, you do a Google search, you see those ads that come up on the top, people pay to be there, and you click on it, that company gets charged money. It's like an ad, and you go to their website. But it's a way of driving business to your site, which we pay for. So when I said I didn't spend any money, that's correct, but only on marketing. And that's how I got to where I am. So taking all three of these things into consideration, networking, education, and getting the deal, they all kind of come hand in hand, but they all kind of tie into one another. As I've already mentioned, networking, you're going to learn, and you might even find deals there, right? Hey, I'm selling this house. Maybe you pick up a flip and you do it with somebody that wants to partner with you. That's another way of finding stuff, because people have deals they're trying to get rid of at these meetings. So as you're sitting there looking at all the information that you've got in front of you, all the data that you've compiled to this date, all the courses and the classes you've taken, one of the basic factors is, now how do I implement this? How do I get off the bench? What I just told you is the way to do that. Okay. So what's your first step? How do we get out of this meeting in 10, 15, 20 minutes? And how do we get our first deal? Well, I just told you that. How do we network? We need to go to these meetings. This is a network. Write these people's names down that are on here. Reach out to people directly on Facebook. Say, hey, I see that you're doing some great things. You look like you're in my area. Can I take you out to lunch? Or can I be a fly on the wall at your next rehab? Can I kind of see what you're doing? I want to learn. And if I can find a property, I'll cut you in on my deal. That's what we need to do. And that's how people get off the bench. I see people at these networking meetings for years, the same faces over and over again, of people that are professional networkers. It's all they do, but they don't do anything more than that. They just go to seminar after seminar, and they're buying this program, buying that program. And I said, how many deals you done? None. I'm still waiting for my first deal. I've known you for 5 years. You're still waiting for your first deal, because they're kind of frozen. And what I feel their problem is they just don't want to take that first step. And there's going to be people who are like that. But obviously, you guys are not them, because why? You're here on the REI USA platform. You've taken at least this step to surround yourself with people that are knowledgeable around you to grow. You have that vision and you see the value here. Utilize the people within this platform, not only here, but in all the other ones, to grow your business. Focus in on one. So this is another tidbit that I want to leave with you. Chase one squirrel. It's a hunting concept. But think about a dog chasing a squirrel. He can run that dog up a tree, and he can stand there until that squirrel dies in that tree because he can't get out of it because he doesn't want to come down. But if that squirrel has 5 friends and that dog's in the backyard, he's chasing this squirrel here, he's chasing that squirrel there. When he goes here, this squirrel's coming down, and he's all over the place. He doesn't know which way he's going. He's chasing too many squirrels. Do one thing that you want to do. Find out what drives you. Why did you get into real estate? I want to wholesale. I love it. I want to create a large wholesaling business. Fine, do that. I want to flip. I think it's fun. I want to do this. I see it all the time. I can do this. Fine, do that. But do one thing. Do only one thing. Focus like a laser on that one thing. Do that one thing until you got it down pat repetitively. Not just, hey, I did a wholesale deal. Do 5, 10, 15, 20 of them. Then say, okay, I've got that. That is an arrow that I can use as a weapon. I'm going to put it in my quiver. Now I'm going to grab this arrow, flipping arrow, and I'm going to learn how to get really accurate with that. I'm going to start flipping homes. Oh, this deal I don't want. It's over on the other side of town. I can wholesale that one. I'm going to flip this one because that fits my buy box. And I've got the investors through my network that can do it. And then you get that one. And then you focus on maybe buying a rental property, right? There's processes of doing that, which we can also teach you on this platform. There's a lot of people in here that do the BRRRR method, the BRRRR, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refi, repeat, right? So there's a process there. We have people here to teach you that. But my suggestion is do one thing, do it really well, and then move on to the second thing, and then the third. When you're all done, my other suggestion here is don't be a one-trick pony. Now, how can you do one thing only and not only be a one-trick pony? What I mean by that is have a goal of being all of these things down the road methodically. Here's why. Wholesaling is great. Flipping is great. Buying and holding is awesome. But you don't want to just buy and hold. Why? Because it only generates, so you get one rental property, you're not living off of that. You get 10, 20, 30, now you're living off of it. But you're still going to want influxes of cash. Wholesaling is short term. Get a contract, turn it around 2-3 weeks later, you got 5, 10, 15, 20 grand. Boom. You want to flip a little bit more of a midterm, right? So now you've got a flip property. You're going to get 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 100,000 out of that maybe, right? But it might take you 4, 5, 6, 8 months to do it, right? So it's kind of midterm money. Long-term money is your rental properties, right? That are going to consistently bring in $150, $200, $300 worth of profit every month. That when you retire, you're going to have all this residual income coming in, passive income. So as the market goes up and goes down and things ebb and they flow, we were talking about this earlier. Right now, the market is telling me the next 5 to 6 years is going to be a very, very, very strong rental market. So we're buying properties to rent. Did I stop flipping? No. Did I stop wholesaling? No. But my focus is on buying and holding because long-term, it's going to work very, very well. Short-term, I still need to eat. I still would love to have a new car. Oh, flipping this house, flipping that house, doing a wholesale deal there, provides food on the table and keeps a steady income coming in because I have the ability to do all three. So focus on one thing, do it well, move on to the next, do it well, and get a repertoire of doing 3 or 4 different streams of income. 3 to 4 streams of income. Wholesale, flipping, buying and holding, coaching, wholesaling other people's deals. It's called co-wholesaling. I'll do that all the time. You got a deal, you don't have a buyer, bring the deal to me. I'll evaluate it. If it makes sense, I'll push it through my system. I'll bring a buyer to the table. It's your deal. I just take a fee, but that's income for me. It's not my deal, but I still profit from it. You make more than I do because it's your deal, but you're not going to make any money at all if you don't sell it. So I help do that. So that's another stream of income. Coaching, I do that too. I have a platform where I do one-on-one coaching. It's a little bit different than what I alluded to before, but it's an on, we do something different. I don't do many of those. So create those streams of income. So the 3 things we talked about is network, educate, and locate. Network, educate, locate. Okay. So At this time, I'm kind of running out of time. It's 4:05. I want to leave room for questions if you have any. So if you have some questions and maybe there's an area I didn't cover, maybe there's something I need to elaborate further on, I'd like you to reach out and through the system, ask the question. And as we wrap up, let me give you my contact information. My name is Carson. My last name is Olinger, Olinger. I am president and CEO of Capital City Equity Group here in the Atlanta metro area. You can reach me directly. My cell phone number, the actual cell phone that was right here, 678-478-2230. That's 678-478-2230. You can reach me via email at carson@capcityeg.com, short for Capital City Equity Group, capcityeg.com. Carson at capcityeg.com. So follow me on Facebook at Carson Olinger. Follow my company at Capital City Equity Group. I'm also on YouTube. I got a pretty extensive YouTube library of all the flips that we've done, on-site stuff where you can learn pitfalls and that kind of stuff, some fun stuff there too. I'm also on Instagram. And of course, I'm here on the REI USA platform. So if you're interested in my class, which is called Walk the Flip, we meet on this platform, REI USA, the last Monday of every month at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And then immediately following that at 10, I get a quick glass of water to kind of ease my throat. And we hop into the Georgia Super Group, which I host for all the new investors in the state of Georgia that have questions about how to get into real estate. So it's this kind of more personalized and more informational as well. So we can elaborate and talk about your specific questions. That's at 10 o'clock on the last Monday of every month as well. And then I also am president and CEO of North Point REIA. We are a real estate investment association, which is basically a meetup group. So as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of networking. I created a networking group. We meet the last Wednesday of every month in Beaufort, Georgia, which is on the north side of Atlanta, at 6 o'clock until 9:30 at the Tannery Row Ale House. And it's an educational REIA. So we have networking opportunities. We bring in a guest speaker. Matter of fact, Stacy has come in and talked at length about several different subject matters. So you learn something, then we have more opportunity to network as well. Right now, we're taking a little bit of a COVID hiatus until January. So we're going to stay home and kind of distance a little bit, but we're always going to come back to this platform here. So I'm going to stop now. And if Stacy or Christy want to pop back on and help answer any questions, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them out to us right now. We'd be more than happy to help. And I want to say thank you again, Stacy, for allowing me the opportunity to come in and help everybody here kind of get off the bench and get in the game. And hopefully what we presented here is going to be helpful to do so.
Yes, thank you. I loved it. Thank you so much. We have some questions, so let's do that real fast.
Okay.
Okay, one of them is, do you, if you have a question too, you can put it into the chat, okay? And then we'll just go through and we'll ask them. I'll make sure I won't miss it, okay? Just put it into the chat. That's easier. Okay, number one, do you work deals outside of the Georgia area? And also, I just wanted to let everybody know the super groups that we have, like the Georgia one or Arizona or Ohio, you don't have to live in that state to attend that. So if you live, let's say, in Tennessee and you're interested in investing in Georgia, I highly recommend that you go to the Georgia meeting so you can kind of learn like how to invest in Georgia, you know? So that's another thing too. That happens. But yeah, so do you do deals outside of Georgia?
I do on a very limited basis. I try to stay within the Southeast, and that's only because I am trying to maintain my credibility and I don't want to get outside of my ability level. So if I had something in Arizona, I could possibly help, but I don't know if I'm going to be the guy to go to. So I understand my limitations and what I'm capable of doing. I'm good here in Atlanta. I'm strong in Tampa and in Charlotte. And then I'm moderately capable around the rest of the Southeast, only because I've got a network that buys in those areas. So if you need help analyzing properties, looking at things, I can do that because I understand this geography a little bit better than, say, the West Coast or the Northeast. So I would probably not take anything outside of the Southeast. You're muted, Nate. You're muted, Stacy.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. You say to hand out business cards. What if someone calls me and I don't know what I'm doing yet? How do I get to the point to know what to do?
That's a great question, because that happened to me. I handed out a business card, probably my fourth day of having cards, and someone called me and they said, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about selling my house." And I was like, I said, "Well, I'm busy right now. Is there a way I can call you back in an hour when I get back in the office? And my partner and I will give you a call." And they said, "Yeah, absolutely." So I got back, I got my friend who knew what he was doing on the phone with us, and we walked through it with him as a team. They didn't know that he was just a friend of mine. They thought he was part of my company, but he helped me with the deal and I involved him with the process. And then we went out to the house together and we saw it. We ultimately got it under contract, but he did a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the conversation. So that's what I would recommend doing. Just be calm and cool and say, "Oh, I'm kind of busy and tied up right now. I'd love to call you back in an hour." And I always give them two options. Can I call you back at 3 o'clock, or can I call you back tomorrow morning at 9? Give them two options. Let them choose, right? Don't just say, "Hey, are you available in an hour?" They might say no.
That's
Say,
like such a sales thing.
it is. That's, I grew up, I was in sales.
That's what my dad said. Give him a couple of times.
Give them a couple of times and always repeat their name. So Stacy, if I'm talking to you, I say, "Hey, Stacy, thank you for giving me a call. I'm not available right now. I'm going to be back in the office a little bit later or tomorrow morning. Stacy, what's the best time to call you? Is it going to be tomorrow morning at 9 or tonight at 4:30? And then she'll have an opportunity to say, "Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate the opportunity and the fact that you called me. Stacy, have a good night." I'm trying to say her name 3 times on that phone call, developing that relationship. And now she's in control, dictating her schedule to me, but really it's my schedule. I'm just allowing her to choose. So that's what I would do. And eventually you're going to get better at having that conversation. And by any means, don't ever, ever, ever create a script. Don't ever do it. I have a flow sheet that I'll be more than happy to supply to you. It's basically a property lead sheet. If you send me your contact information to the email I provided you, carson@capcityeg.com, I'll give you my property lead sheet, which is I generated. But what it really works is, and when you're on these phone calls, you can walk through all of the information you need to fill in. And it's just basic stuff. It's like bedroom, bathrooms. And it's not a script. It's not going to say, "How many bedrooms is your house? How many bathrooms?" It's not going to go through it. It's just going to have a blank, bedrooms, blank, bathrooms. But it's going to prompt you to ask the question the way you communicate. Don't ever give up who you are for some script, because you will come across as reading from a script. And we've all had those phone calls. Sound like a script. You call and just free will it, but you've got a process that you're going to be able to fill in. The next question coming up because you've looked at the lead sheet, and I'll be more than happy to provide that to you.
Awesome. And we do have that in the forms directory as well too. So all REI USA members, go to the forms directory and you'll just look up the lead sheet, and then you could use that as well too. I'm sure it's all, it's the same as Carson's, it's the same, you ask the same questions. How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms?
Yep.
Would you accept cash?
And that's an interesting point. I asked this question twice. I said, "How much do you want for your house?" And they'll say, "I want 200. And then 5 minutes later in the conversation, I'll say, "Hey, if we pay cash, how much would you take?" "Well, I'll take 160. "Okay. Why did you change?" I don't ask them why, but if you ask that question twice, 2 different ways, you always get a lower number. It's crazy.
Yeah, we have that on the seller lead sheet.
Yep.
A question: if a person has funds and time, but not currently working a W-2 job, what is a good way to start?
So you got the money, you've got the time, because you're not working a job outside of that. So a great way to do that is to do exactly what I just told you. Otherwise, you're going to throw your money away. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to spend your money like crazy. Now, it does give you some means that other people don't have. So you could do a couple of things. One, you could invest in a marketing campaign that's above your pay grade, that works better than what you can do to generate the leads in the vertical markets you want, right? Kind of like what I did later on with the SEO and the PPC campaign, okay? And that will yield good results, but it can get expensive, all right? Depending on what you do and how much you want to spend, it can be anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a month at the beginning, and then it scales up from there, okay? But they do yield results. It takes a little time, but it will yield results. So that's one thing you could do. Another thing to do is to find people that you find to be credible in the industry through the network you've been establishing, and come out and say, hey, I have money that I want to put to work in a deal. Not necessarily as a lender, hey, give me 10% and I'll be happy. Maybe that's what you want. I don't know. In terms of a loan, but say, hey, what if I fund this deal? I don't know how to flip a house for Jack. I don't know what to do, but you seem to know what you're doing. Let's write a contract or something. I'll fund the whole thing. I'll pay for the whole thing, but I want 35% of the profits or 40% of the profits or whatever you guys figure out. Because keep in mind, without him or her, you can't get the deal done. And maybe without you and your money, they can't get the deal done. And now what you're gaining through that is you're making money with your money. You will be in a secure position. If you need to figure out how to do that, let me know. I'll make sure you're in a secure position, whether it's with me or anybody. But you're also learning because you're going to be a fly on that wall. You're vested, you're interested. You're going to learn how to flip that house. So that's a great way to get involved. Okay. I would highly encourage you doing that because there's people looking for money all the time. And if you've got the wherewithal to lend that money to somebody you trust, like me, then we can do that. So that's how I would do it.
No, and then that's what I love about REI USA is like, you have some money, you've got time, try to figure out what you want to do. Like there's so many different ways to invest in real estate. And see, when I got started in real estate investing, the only thing I knew was like wholesaling and rehabbing. And a lot of people, that's what they think, that's all you can do. But the truth of the matter is there's so many different ways to invest in real estate. And, and that's the platform for REI USA is it's going to teach you so many different ways. And then you can really make an educated decision of, you know what? Because I had somebody came to me, was like, I want to rehab. And I was already sure, just go educate yourself for 1 month, go to all the webinars, let me know. He came back, he was like, after a while, he's like, I decided I just want to do land. And it's like this whole thing, he was like, I want to rehab. And then the end, now he flips land.
Yeah.
And does awesome, so like there's so many different ways. Educate yourself about all the different ways. So you don't have to do just wholesaling and rehab. You just don't. Okay. All right. Is a real estate license, is a real estate license needed for all the things that you've discussed?
No, I do not have a real estate license.
No.
That's the simple answer. Does a real estate license help? Sure, it could help you, but you don't need it.
Honestly, nowadays there's so many different ways. Like real estate license, you're just for comping. In the past, it was like, oh, I can't comp now because I don't have access to the MLS. I need to go get my real estate license. But now there's so many different softwares out there. You could just get a software.
And quite honestly, through my network, I've got real estate agents that I work with that allow me to use their login for just using comps. I don't do anything other than research because they trust me, and I don't compromise that at all. And I use their MLS and FMLS access. I'm not going to tell you who they are.
You could get access to PropStream, RealFlow. All of these softwares. If you go to REI USA and then you just click on partners, there's so many different softwares out there now. And actually, I was thinking about this, Carson. I really think that it would be great if you could do a demo for Carrot. Are you switched over to Carrot and using them now?
Yeah, I'm using Carrot now. Yeah.
I would love for you to one webinar to do a demo of how you utilize Carrot, because I tell everybody they should be getting into online marketing, but it would be great to show how to do that.
Yeah, I could do that. We could do a login on that. I could share my screen.
I think we should we should plan to do a webinar for that eventually one time. So everybody can.
Yeah, I'm down for that. So yeah, you don't need a license. I don't necessarily think it hurts you or helps you. I tell people this all the time. If you want to make money in real estate, become a real estate agent. If you want to make a lot of money in real estate, become a real estate broker. If you want to be wealthy in real estate, become an investor.
Exactly. And also Carson is in the private Facebook group. So everybody here, make sure that you join the private Facebook group for REI USA. Carson is there. If you have any questions going forward and you want to get a hold of him, you could just post that question and tag him, and we'll make sure that he gets that notification and he answers your question as well too. So, so there's a lot of different ways to get a hold of him, but he is in that group.
I will say this regarding wholesaling in certain areas of the country. I don't know where everybody is here, but certain areas of the country, they're passing laws now where you can't transact real estate unless you have a license. So I do see that as a potential threat down the road, but it's not anything that's hurting us here in the Southeast at this point in time. But even if that is the case, I think it's actually good. Even though I don't have a license, why would I say that it's good? Only because you eliminate all the people that can't function in the process. The people that can't really credibly do this are going to fall off, which would be great because you kind of get rid of the people that really don't add much to the equation. But in terms of wholesaling, how would you wholesale if you don't have a license? You simply buy it. So you have to have access to cash, which we do. So you buy it and then double close it. Stacy sells me her house. I close it. 10 seconds later, I sell it to Joe at the same table. But I had to have cash to do it. And there's all kinds of ways to do that. There's A to B, B to C transactional funding. There's all kinds of ways of doing that. So that's just a formality, but people that don't understand how to do it because they don't have the education aren't going to understand how to do it, and they're going to fall off. You, because you're here, you're going to get it. You're going to know there's another way to do it.
Well, and if you do want to get your license, make sure that if you do get your real estate license, you hang it with a brokerage that is investor friendly.
Yep.
Right. So you don't be hanging like Better Homes and Gardens and like, Sotheby's, right? Like you want to be finding like, essentially there's like investors out there that have brokerages and you could just hang it with them and then learn from them also. So that's another thing that you could do. So just be real, if you want to get your license, just make sure you hang it with the right brokerage.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Real fast before everybody leaves, I'm just going to share my screen and I just wanted to show you, let me see, hang on. I want to show you the link to join so everybody has it. And also just for the 3-day challenge, we've added a fast action bonus, which is it's called the Real Estate Investing for Beginners course. All right. So this is actually just an online course. Like if you're here and you're like, okay, now how do I get started? This is going to be included into the membership. So the membership to join is $40. And then the course right here, which is the fast action bonus, which is setting up your office, your marketing strategies, acquiring properties, funding your deals, financing them, construction and management liquidations. This is my course that I've done, and I'm just throwing it into the mix. So you can just go to this REI USA beginners bonus page. And this is where you're going. This is the only link that you can get this thing. So if you use this link, you can get, I told you it's $40 a month, plus the fast action bonus for signing up and becoming a member. That is all here. And it talks about member benefits and stuff like that. Okay. So Christy's going to put this into the chat so that you can start, like everybody here is like, what do I do now? How do I get started? That's going to help you get started. Okay. All right, Carson, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. You were awesome. And thank you everybody that showed up and listened and hung out with us today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, y'all take care. Everybody take care. I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time with Jay and Annie. Okay, Jay and Annie will be here and they're talking about team building your team, right? Which is also very important. All right, take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody.